Hello everyone, welcome back to Shang-Chi Bricks. I'm Alex, and today will be a very interesting video. Today we will be talking about the smart brick sets. Now I have made numerous shorts about the smart brick. I've refrained from making a full video because on this channel I don't want to make a video that's just a lot of negatives or doesn't have any positives, and that's kind of one of the things that I've felt about at least the Star Wars line. But the Pokemon line has been revealed, and I have some very interesting feelings about this. A bunch of sets got revealed. I will not, I won't show any pictures just because there's a lot of different sets. You can go look them up on your own time, or you can look them up while this video is playing in the background, because it's just going to be me talking the whole time. But we have a very interesting situation with the Lego Pokemon Smart Bricks. This isn't really going to be edited. This is just me talking about these kind of things. I'll start by saying I'm not a Pokemon fan at all. I am aware of different, more popular Pokemons. I have a lot of friends who are really into Pokemon, such as Rosie at some. Go check out his channel if you haven't yet, if you like Pokemon stuff. But I'm not necessarily a Pokemon fan, but I do want to make this video because I think that the Smart Brick is actually kind of good in this. Now, the Smart Brick has been receiving a lot of hate, and if you don't know what the Smart Brick is, I will take a moment to explain it. So, this is the Smart Brick. Now, it's a brick that has lights and sounds and wiring and can enhance play. So, basically, there's this brick. And a brick is a 2x4 Lego brick, which near different minifigures or tags or different things, it can make different sounds. So if a smart brick is near a minifigure, then the minifigure will make different sounds, like different character noises. And if it's around one of these tags, it'll do different things. So let's say the smart brick is on the X-Wing tag, then that means that it'll make X-Wing noises. Or if it's near R2-D2, then it'll make R2-D2 noises. Now, there are a lot of problems with these sets, and I'll be highlighting different Pokemon sets, but I actually think that they fixed a majority of the problems with the Smart Brick in this wave, and I feel like no one's been talking about how they've actually been fixing a lot of things, so I definitely do want to talk about this, just to show my opinions, and that the Smart Brick may not be all bad, like I previously thought it might be. Now, I guess we'll start with one of the problems that hasn't really been fixed that much, and that is the actual price of the Smart Brick. Now, before in the Star Wars wave, I think one of the things I don't like that much about the Smart Brick is the fact that not every site even has a Smart Brick, which I think was a big downfall for the Lego Star Wars line of sets. But I think kind of works for the Pokemon sets. It works better for the Pokemon sets than it does for the Star Wars sets. So these are all the Smart Play compatible sets. So they have minifigures, they have tags, they just don't have the brick itself. So, for example, Mos Eisley Cantina has a Smart Obi-Wan and Greedo, but it doesn't have the actual kind of smart brick that makes lights and noises. You see, the problem with that, especially for a set like Luke's Land Speeder, is that there's a giant hole in the back where the smart brick should be. But because this set doesn't even come with the smart brick, then it just is a land speeder with a giant gap in the back, and it just doesn't look very good. And then on top of that, it has an insane price, which is $40, where it has to be $40 because it includes the Luke Skywalker, which has all the wiring him for the smart brick, but the smart brick isn't even in that set, which is probably the main problem with the Lego Star Wars sets. And then, obviously, there's the pricing, so for the sets with the actual smart brick, there were only 3 of them in the Star Wars wave. The Vader tie, the Luke X-Wing, and the Throne Room Battle. Now, the thing is, the cheapest set is the TIE Fighter, which is $70 for the smart brick. So let's say you wanted to make Luke's Land Speeder with lights and sounds, and you just want a Luke's Land Speeder that makes lights and noises and stuff. Well, it's $40 for this, but then it's an additional $70 just to make lights and noises. So that's $110 it's an $110 experience to make the Luke's Land Speeder not only look good, but have lights and sounds and stuff. Which obviously isn't great. The Luke's X-Wing's $100, and then the throne room is $150, but has 2 smart bricks. Now, I will say, getting into some positives with the actual Pokemon lineup, I do think that they actually fix a bunch of the problems, including the pricing. Now, just by looking at the sets, it may not seem like the pricing is necessarily amazing. For example, there's 2 different sets with the actual smart brick sets. They're all in one sets. There's the Smart Play Training House with Pikachu, and for that one, it's $70, just like the TIE Fighter. And it seems like this is going to be kind of like the normal standard for how cheap the Smart Brick is gonna be. Like, it doesn't seem like Lego's really shifting the price, at least right now, into anything like $60 or $50. So for now, it's $70 for the Smart Brick. And this one comes with Pikachu. And this set, I actually like. And when we look at the pricing, even though the $7 one isn't necessarily amazing in price, there's the Charizard versus Jolton, I don't know if I pronounced that, Ultimate Battle set. And that's $120, but that comes with 2 smart bricks. So that's actually a better deal than the throne room set, because the throne room set is $150 and 2 smart bricks. So now it's actually cheaper. It's actually probably the best valued set with the actual smart brick, because the Luke's X-Wing is $100 for a single smart brick, but then you can get $120 for 2 smart bricks if that's what you're looking for, which I actually like. But then we get to the actual function. A lot of people definitely debated that for the Lego Star Wars sets, there wasn't that much you could really do with them besides make lights and noises. And I'm mainly talking about the Pokemon sets right now, but at least for the Pikachu set, which I'll get a better look at, this is the one I'll be talking about for now, actually works pretty well. So you put this smart brick into Pikachu's stomach, which is a weird thing to say, but it actually, I feel like, does stuff pretty well. It actually brings the character to life, which I think is what the smart brick sets are kind of trying to do, and I think it actually looks pretty good. Now, for Pikachu himself, the character builds, I can't really judge the accuracy, because like I said, I'm not a Pokemon fan, but I actually kind of really like what this set is. I think it really highlights some of the more fun parts of the smart brick. Now, it has Pikachu in it, which is great. Because Pikachu is obviously the most popular Pokemon, and 4 smart tags, which is also pretty nice. Now, even the smart tags, just the design of them, I think look a lot better. Mainly because for each individual Pokemon smart tag, there's an image of the Pokemon, and I believe it's the type of Pokemon underneath them and the number of Pokemon. So, because I guess each Pokemon has a number or something. I like that. It kind of looks like a trading card or an actual Pokemon card. I think that looks awesome. And I love how each individual Pokemon has their own that looks like that. That's actually really awesome and really turns it into a cool collectible. I really like that. Another reason why the prices are a little better is because there's no actual minifigures in here, which I think is definitely nice because it reduces kind of the price and adds value to things that are arguably more important, such as the smart tags. Now, what the smart tags actually do in this set is actually kind of fun too. Now in the Pokemon universe, obviously there's trainers, but then the trainers actually teach the Pokemon how to do different tricks or how to battle. And they actually translated that into Lego Smart Play pretty well. And they translated it in a way that I think that they actually needed the Smart Brick for. For Star Wars, I don't think the Smart Brick was particularly necessary. For example, you could make different noises that the Smart Brick makes with your mouth. And you don't actually need, a digital shooter for the Smart Brick. Instead, you can obviously just use smart shooters. So you just use regular shooters. But I actually like this because this is actually something that is harder to do with just the things around you or with Lego bricks already. So what does the Smart Brick do with Pokemon exactly? So the set itself is Pikachu's house, which I think is nice because obviously since the Smart Brick makes things more reactive, it's like Pikachu's kind of living at his own little house and he can do different things. I think because of this 6+ age mark and the fact that this set is Pikachu's house, it definitely is geared towards younger audiences, and definitely younger kids. I think my younger cousins would honestly love to have a little Pikachu that makes cute little noises and they can put in their house and they can build their little house, and they can do different things. Now, obviously, you can do things like there's like a target, for example. So you can train your Pokemon to do like target practice, and you can hit a target. And I think that's definitely really fun. And then you can do different things. You can like catch your Pokemon. I'm not 100% sure what that does, but like it's something that Pokemon actually do in Lego Pokemon, in the Pokemon kind of thing in general, which I think is really, really neat. Now, I just like that this really does feel like it found its nice target audience of what the smart brick should be. Should the price really be $70? No, but it is pretty nice because I think it is exactly what it's supposed to be. I think its target audience would actually like it a lot. Like, I don't know if the target audience for Lego Star Wars would even like the Star Wars smart bricks that much, but I do like that the Pikachu. I do like the actual base Pikachu set. Now, one of the main things that the Pokemon can do if you have multiple smart bricks is that you can kind of train them in their little training areas, and then you can like shake them, and then you can actually go to battle. So, for example, if you get the Pikachu set, and then you get actually no, the set I'll look at is the Charizard versus Jolteon set, because that set is the other set with 2 smart bricks. Now there is an issue here because it's expensive to get more than 1 smart brick, but if you do ideally have more than 1 smart brick, this is actually really neat because you can like battle them, which means I think you can shake them up and they have different attacks. Now, apparently, if you train them, then they get more powerful and stuff, which is nice. Because here's the thing: for the X-Wing and TIE Fighter set, those sets you could battle each other. There are little lasers and stuff. You could battle each other. You could do like you'd have little battles, but there wasn't much of like a tracking system or an aiming system, and then there also wasn't like much health. Like you could be facing the other side of the room and like be shooting something, but then it still counts as a hit as long as like 2 smart bricks are within the range. And obviously there's stud shooters which can actually like keep track of score. Where for this, I mean, hasn't been sent out to people yet, so I'm not 100% sure how much people will like it, but in theory, this is nice because you could shake them up and launch them at each other, and you can launch different attacks, you can battle each other, but then these smart tags have them actually keep track of health, which is awesome, because before, it was hard to tell who's winning and losing with the TIE Fighter and the X-Wing, but then you can actually, like, see, like, who's winning and losing, and like the smart brick will flash red if the character's dying or whatever. And I think that's a really cool feature that actually works pretty well. And then I think they even tried to put a little bit of like strategy and stuff in where you can charge your attacks, or you have to be like a certain distance away from the other smart brick. And I really like that. I think that is actually really cool. I think works well. Obviously, the only set you can really battle is this actual this set with the, both smart bricks, which obviously is $120. I didn't expect the Pokemon smart sets to actually to cost a decent amount. I mean, I guess I didn't expect them to be particularly great value, but I do think the sets without the smart brick have better value because of the fact they don't have any minifigures. Because they're buildable characters, the only smart part about them is that they have the tags if you happen to have the smart brick. I think unlike the Star Wars sets, these Pokemon sets stand very well on their own. I think part of the reason why is because they're buildable characters and they're not figures. I think another part of the reason why is we've never really gotten Pokemon sets before. We got a line of adult 18 plus buildable sets before this, but I do think that this is really nice that we could just have something like this where it's just buildable characters, and I think younger kids would really like it. I also like how you can collect different things like the Pokeball, and that they made a lot of more iconic Pokemon. I do think this definitely reminds me of the Lego Super Mario lineup with these kind of blockier characters, but in some ways I actually like this more. Mostly because I think the characters in the builds feel a little better. Because I feel like with the old Mario sets, there's just like a line of brick, and there wasn't really much to do with it. Where there's like actual like territories that the characters can interact in, which I think is really, really cool. Now, a lot of people had problems with the designs of the different characters, and personally, I can't really say much of like accuracy and stuff because, like I said, I'm not that much of a Pokemon fan. But what I do like, and what I do think that the builds remind me of, is like keychains. Like they have like blockier heads, blockier bodies, and they're not meant to be the most accurate thing. But people definitely collect a lot of Pokemon keychains, and like if they go to like a Pokemon thing, they might get a small souvenir that's a Pokemon keychain. And I think I kind of like that it looks like this like keychain kind of blocky build. And I personally, as someone who is really just looking at it for design, I don't have much of an issue with it. I also like how a lot of the more popular Pokemon come in cheaper sets. For example, I'm not that big of a Pokemon fan, like I've said multiple times in like the last minute, but I know different characters like Charmander or Bulbasaur or Squirtle, and I like that they come in cheaper sets, like $20, $30. And then obviously, I feel like there's some more obscure Pokemon, or at least ones I personally don't know, that come in slightly more expensive sets, which I like. So overall, what do I think about this? I like it. I think it's a huge improvement. I do think that there's some issues with prices, and because you don't always have multiple smart bricks, this isn't perfect. But obviously, the first of anything is never completely perfect. But I do think it fixed a lot of problems. The actual gameplay seems to be a lot better. The actual prices seem to be a lot better, and I think the actual necessity of the smart brick is a lot better as well. Let me know what you think. I may be making some videos talking about how the smart brick can integrate into other LEGO themes down the line. This was kind of just like a brain dump kind of video for Shang-Chi bricks, where I just talk about my random thoughts for this kind of random thing that everyone's been talking about. And overall, I definitely like this. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments down below, and if you're interested in these smart brick sets. I do think I've been pretty negative before, and I didn't completely want to talk about it on my channel, because I do think that LEGO should be something that everyone has their own opinion on. I didn't want to be super negative towards it, but I actually see a lot of hope in the smart brick lineup. I don't want every set to be smart brick. I don't want most sets to be smart brick, but I do like this way more than the Star Wars line. Let me know what you think of this set in the comments down below, and I'll see you on the next one.